It's 7:05. I think we'll go ahead and get started. I've just put the speaking order in, or the conversation order in the chat. It's alphabetical by last name. So for those of you who weren't able to join us last night, I am Megan Doherty. I'm the director of Museum of the White Mountains, and I'm excited to celebrate all the hard work of our 18 BFA students. So we had 9 presentations and Q&As last night. We'll have another 9 tonight. And so what we'll do is for each student, I'll screen their artist talk videos, and then we'll have a live Q&A. Okay, and we'll start with Kaitlyn. Are there any questions before I dive in? Okay, and since we're such a small group, feel free to unmute when it comes time for Q&A, or if you prefer to put them in the chat, I can read them out to make sure everybody hears them. Okay, I will share my screen.
Hello, my name is Kaitlyn Robicheau-Hall, and I am a studio art major with a minor in graphic design and art history. This year, I worked with representation of light and experimented with contrasting color and color theory with oil paint as my medium. The subjects for each of my paintings focus on moments the viewer can see every day. The scenes that I chose to paint represent small moments in time during the day that, while might seem insignificant, they are important to daily life. While each painting is a specific moment in time, they can cause a different reaction for each person. The pieces are meant to interact with each viewer personally, therefore there's no exact meaning for each painting. I hope that the viewer would be able to immerse themselves into the pieces as if they were looking through a window at the scene depicted. The scenes I decided to paint were usually places that I personally interacted with almost every day. This first painting is of my bedroom at home during the time that sunlight was the most prominent in the room. This next image is of the D&M stairs from the 4th floor. I chose this image as I walk up these stairs every day, and so do many teachers and students. This painting depicts a sculpture room window later in the day. I chose this room as it was the space of the BFA studio art students met for class during the fall semester. While this room is used often, not many people notice the large floor-to-ceiling windows. I also chose to paint the scene as it was inherently blue in comparison to my other pieces that are made up of warmer reds and yellows. The image of the park and garage came from the shape of the canvas I was using. As all the previous paintings are vertical, I decided to use a horizontal canvas. Due to this decision, I felt that the best scene to use in that shape was the parking garage. Not only because people interact with parking garages a lot, but also because the lighting in the garage was interesting to work with. These next 4 paintings are the panel, the light switch, the outlet, and the elevator button. I chose these subjects to paint as these objects are interacted with daily. I chose them as, while they are smaller subjects, they are some of the most important interactions of the day. And finally, here's the setup for the show. I decided to have alternating sizes in the layout, as I felt the size differences would draw the viewer's eye. The wall space I chose was also to draw the viewer in, as you can see the wall right when you turn to walk through the gallery doors. And here is a video of what it's like to walk through the gallery doors and watch as the work comes into view. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Thank you for joining me on my artist talk.
Thanks, Kaitlyn. Are there questions? Oh, my video is still off. There we go. Are there questions or comments for Kaitlyn?
Maybe if I can.
Yeah.
Kaitlyn, yeah, it was great to see the big shift you made, and you were able to follow that up. Though I noticed in the studio you're starting to get back into the flowers. What's your idea with those? Are you?
Yes, I started painting flowers again, mostly just because I wanted to experiment with my high contrast level. With that, I sort of took a little break, and probably the canvas that you saw, I experimented with some new colors that are more pastel-y. So it was just more of an experimentation, just to see where I should head to.
Good. Yeah, have that freedom now that you could just try all sorts of things. So great job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What were your key influences as far as painters go, or even on non-painters, photographers, anything?
I'd say I apologize for the cars in the background.
Listening to the same car.
I would say that I'm not exactly positive, because I know a lot of learning about the artists that we've learned, like Hopper. I know Christine brings up Hopper a lot and his influence. And I feel like it's just a whole bunch of interactions from different artists that I've seen throughout art history. I'm not exactly positive that there is a direct one, but I think I am falling towards more impressionist style of capturing daily life, but with the high contrast and darkness, I'd say, of like the Baroque backgrounds.
A lot of those Baroque paintings also sort of captured everyday life, even if it was a little bit done up with like fun violins and exotic fruits.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't really have that much in our daily life anymore.
Any other comments or questions for Kaitlyn?
I had a comment, if I can mention. Hi, Kaitlyn. I'm very happy to see your show and all the pieces that you came up with, because, you know, I know you as a peer advisor, global engagement. I know you also as the member of Graphic Design Club, and I've been communicating with you throughout this semester, and we talked about, your future plans for your artworks. And I saw the way you were like preparing for this, and your thought process, your research, and your actual like execution of all these pieces. So it's really nice to see the way it came out. And I'm happy that you're happy with your pieces, and it's just a great work, and it's a great portfolio piece. And I hope this will lead you to a new step in your career.
Thank you. Oh, Noah, I did remember, sorry I didn't mention this. Dennis Zinn, I believe you pronounce his name. He does high contrast colors, usually in figures. He was one of my influences, specifically with color. You're muted, Noah.
Yes, excellent. Him and Edward Hopper are like, those are pretty like prevalent as far as like the isolation that you feel in those colorscapes, and just the feeling of the one lighting source and the rich colors. It's there. It's all good.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. So we'll go on to our next video. Oh, let me hit admit, share screen. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Joseph Robillard. I came with Adventure Mountain Paintball because paintball is a huge part of my life. I love paintball. I've been playing paintball for 4 years, and I worked at 2 different fields in the past 4 years. I've learned so much from each field that I've worked at, how to properly create a company, so how to properly make a field and designing certain things for fields and how to create posters for them and flyers. So I decided to create my very own. In doing so, it took a little while for me to find out what I wanted my field to look and design a field and how to make it happen. In doing so, I came up with this, Venture Mountain Paintball. Venture Mountain Paintball was intended to design for beginners and experienced paintball players, all around experience for anybody. The process of creating the logo for the Venture Mountain Paintball was long, tedious, but well worth it. I created White Mountain Paintball as the starting logo because I wanted something simple and something to represent the history of it. But people encouraged me to change the logo and something interesting. So I changed it to Old Man Mountain Paintball. I changed the name because I wanted to represent the history of paintball, which is paintball originated from New Hampshire. So I wanted something that people knew that represented New Hampshire. So I chose Old Man Mountain's Head. But I didn't like the style of it. People encouraged me to keep changing it. So I became OMP with Old Man Mountain playing paintball. I liked the design of the logo, but OMP was too long of a phrase and also a very long name. So it switched to Venture Mountain Paintball, which is AMP as abbreviated, which people are amped up to play, they're moving, which made sense. And it just became a process of figuring out the background. So I tried camo, but it didn't really work out, but I liked the feel of it. So I created it again with a gradient on the top of it of a metal texture, because if I was going to print it out on the sign, it would be metal and I wanted to give it a rustic feel. So I gave that a try. It didn't really work out. So I went to a black background. It really popped out and I enjoyed the look of it. But I felt I wanted to represent that metal background. So I did the same thing I did with the first one, did another gradient, but I brought the text in front so that the text wouldn't be shaded or blurred at any reason. So from there, I got the logo that I have now, which I truly enjoy. For the business package for Adventure Mountain Paintball, I wanted to represent paintball a lot into the package because it's a paintball company. So the background, the border, and for the envelope, I found a paintball texture, which I really enjoyed. It really brought out paintball in it. So with the business card, I made the backing of it, the paintball texture with the logo, which came out nice. I added the text of Adventure Mountain Paintball, the text of the website, the logo, and everything else. Then it went to the letterhead. So I wanted something normal letterhead, just created a border line for it and included the font I've chosen for the company, and came out to this. The envelope I didn't want to do too much of the paintball. Originally I wanted to do the whole back side and make it look like a paintball wall that got splattered, but that was going to be a little too much. So I decided to go with just the top sleeve of the envelope. So it just looked like something simple, something clean, also interesting to look at when you get something in the middle. For the posters for Adventure Mountain Paintball, I wanted to create a variety of them. Two of which are action photos to just represent paintball and make you interested in the sport, show people that it's cool, it's awesome, get people interested into it in general. With the borders and everything, I just created I had that same texture and I just implemented it on the top on an angle. I added the logo in on the top and I just repeated it throughout each poster. The two posters that I had, I wanted to do info and a field map. I put in the field map so people could see what a paintball field looks like, and the feel how it's more woods ball. It's not just plain open fields. It's trees, rocks, buildings. It's everything. It makes you give you an urban feel, but also gives you a rustic feel. So you're out in the wood, you're having fun with your friends and everything. With the last poster, I created a business side of it. So I'd show you pricings, what you get, what you can upgrade to, what you can do with private parties. I enjoyed how each one of these came out, and I truly enjoyed this project in creating my own company. Hopefully, I'll be able to do this more in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. Are there questions or comments for Joseph?
Have you considered selling this to somebody or creating your own mountain?
Yes, I thought about selling it to it. And funny story about it is there was a kid when the day that I was putting this up who ran over going like, "Where's this field at? Where can I go? When do you guys open?" I'm like, I hated to be the buzzkill to tell the kid that the field didn't exist. But I loved how people thought it was actually an actual real place from my work, and it truly gave me joy out of that, but not giving him the downside of it wasn't a real field. But yeah, I would love for this to actually become a real field, but it's all about money. I don't have the money to do that. Maybe in the future I might, maybe, but yeah, if I could sell this to a field that is actually starting up, I would love to do that.
Other questions or comments for Joseph? No. Is Lillian by chance the person on the telephone?
That might be me. My computer was about to die, so I zoomed in on my phone, but now there's 2 in here. I don't know how to delete that one.
Okay. Okay. I just before I like started screening their video, I wanted to figure out if they weren't somehow hiding here, and I just couldn't tell. But sorry you're having trouble, Jasmine, but glad you can be here.
That's okay. I'm on my computer now, so it's okay.
Okay, good. Okay, so I think that Lillian's not here, so I'll go ahead and screen their. Oh, maybe it's Max on the phone. Okay. Either way, I think by now, if it were Lillian, they would have told me. So I'll go ahead and screen their film, and we'll pause just to make sure they haven't come, and then we'll go ahead with Christina's, okay?
Yeah, this is Hanson, by the way. Sorry, I'm like super mentally messed up by that.
My concept is an indie called Night, which designs and develops new board games. I'm an avid board game player and a growing graphic designer, and I figured with my love for board games and my love of graphic design, it'd be incredibly easy to mesh them together. I was able to actually use a logo I designed over the summer, like just in my sketchbook while I was working, which is what's on the left. And on the right is me trying to further that idea of work in the text, which was a very difficult endeavor, actually. It took so much trial and error. This is the final one. I thought it was really striking and easy to recognize at a glance, which is part of what I was going for. So that way it could work with or without the text. And if it was like on the side of a board game box, you'd be able to just tell like, oh, that's Typography. I know what that is. And then my first game I designed was Conquering Ristrill. My plan was to make this a fully working board game by the end of the
year basically that I'd been working on it, but that actually turned out to be more than, like, I bit off more than I could chew in that case. So I ended up making just the pieces, and I haven't fully fleshed out the rules, but I've been trying to do that. So these are the game pieces. I found these on Thingiverse and thought they worked perfectly for the warlike idea I had for wrist drill. So I had my friend print them off for me. And these ended up being like the game tiles and the resource cards that you'd use, kind of like Catan if you've played it. And this is what it ended up looking kind of like if you were to actually play. The next game I made was Moonshine, which is a fast-paced booze drinking game, sort of. Your goal is to just run away from the Prohibition era police and get the most moonshine by the end. This was, I think, the third game I ended up designing, but it was one of the ones that meshed into this poster design. I had the easiest, sorry. And it ended up being one of my favorite posters. This is Lanterns, which was the second game I had designed. Its goal was to be a pocket-sized game that you could like take anywhere with you, just bust out with your friends if you're going out to dinner or something. Because I feel like that market, while it's growing, it's not exactly the most utilized one. Like, all the games are incredibly simple and you can't really get into, in my eyes. This is Night Hunter. This is the last game I designed. That's the wrong poster. But its logo is one of my favorites, like the owl. Originally, I had tried to just do what I usually do, and image trace an owl to be the box art, but I ended up not liking that idea at all. It looked awful no matter what I did. So I ended up hand drawing the owl, which is what's in the upper left, and I just love how it came out. It's just beautiful in my eyes. This is my envelope and business card. I tried to keep with that simple black and white design, not get too frilly with it, like make sure it fits my logo. This was a letterhead that I'd used for like business memos, and I'd send it to companies to be like, hey, we're coming out with new games, maybe take a look. This is the start of my design manual. I still tried to keep with that black and white theme, though I started adding this yellow around the top. I don't know if you can really see it, to just add a little bit of color to it. It's like, here's the do's, here's the don'ts, the colors, and the type, and that is all. Thank you.
All right, I think that we will just go ahead. I'll restart the share and we'll just go ahead with Kristina's.
Hi, my name is Kristina Stevens. I am one of the people participating in this year's BFA exhibit. And for my BFA exhibit, I've created a mobile dog grooming company named Wheels of Furry, kind of as a word play off of the popular saying, Wheels of Fury. So just spelled furry instead of fury. So what I'm gonna do for this little introduction is I'm going to show pictures of the main components of my brand from my iPad. So I'll start off with my logo and explain that a bit. So here is my logo. I'll give a second to look at that. Cool. So my logo is, it highlights a lot of the brand colors. One of the very first things I did when creating this brand was sit down and create a color palette of main colors. So I chose this fun, bright orange. I chose blue, you can see there in the bubbles, the red, and even that little yellow in there, the brush. And then white is a big part of the brand as well. And black is used too. So a lot of the main brand colors are shown here in the logo. And I just wanted the logo to be fun and fast, because that is what the company really stands for, is being fun, fast, getting your dog groomed and getting it home fast. So the premise really is that they have a set schedule. So the company will have a set schedule. And you know that on the 3rd of each month, that this van will come to your house and pick up your dog and bring them home a few hours later all groomed. So there's really not much you have to do besides sign your dog up. You don't even have to be home. You can always set up, you can always work out with the company how to get in, give them a spare key, give them the access code, or simply have a dog sitter there just for the hour to get your dog there and get them home. So it's really based on convenience, which is why I highlighted the fast nature in the logo. So moving on, so of course, as moving a dog grooming company, it needs to be mobile. So the next big thing I did was I spent a lot of time creating a van that will pick up your dogs, groom them right there, well, not right in front of your house, but they will take them in the van and groom them in the van and bring them back to your home at a set location. So here is, the top one is a much more illustrated version of the van. That is what I worked with for the majority of the project. I worked with this illustrated version. And then this semester, I then created a much more realistic version of the van, which I was pretty happy with. But see here, the highlighted color is blue instead of orange, because in my style guide, in my design manual, I really highlight the importance of using blue when talking with the public, when showing the public anything, and using that more red, that more deep red color that you see on the bag there for internal communications and things like that. So I really tried hard to prioritize blue when I created public things such as a van. So here is just a little showing of what the grooming apron would look like. So it will have a bunch of different paw prints, our logo, a plain back white. I also, in my style guide, highlighted that white is an important thing to use. It's a clean color, it presents cleanness and fineness, and that is something that we want to do in this company. We don't want it to be all red and orange all the time. So using those blues with public displays is important. Here again, this is just a basic uniform. A nice bright crisp white shirt with the logo in the corner, a polo shirt, nice clean professional. The apron will go over that on groomers, unless that he is more of a secretary or a check-in person, then he'll just wear that. Here is a shirt, just a fun shirt that I actually got to create for my BFA exhibit. It's more of merchandise for loyal customers, but definitely something that a dog groomer could wear on like a fun Friday. All right, and then just to show you guys some packaging, because again, when it comes to public displays, it is important to use our red and our orange, but really highlighting that blue is very important. So you can see here on a packaging display, this is the doggy hygiene kit. It has a lot of blue on there. Yeah, the red is there and the orange is there, but there's a lot of blue, and that's the dominant color. So overall, my brand is a mobile dog grooming company that's fast, fun, clean, and energetic. And that was really what I was going for with my use of color and my overall prioritization of where color goes. Thank you so much. I really hope you guys enjoy this.
Thanks, Christina. Are there questions or comments for Christina?
I have a comment. My mom went to the show on Saturday and she really liked your posters and everything. And she brought up how my grandmother used to have a dog grooming service that would come in a van and also do that. So she was really happy with like bringing that sort of form of company back. She thought it was a really smart idea.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, that's so cool.
I also like that way how you mentioned how blue color was important to your brand, because I think this is something that, you know, each designer should think about when developing the brand identity for the company, because each color has meaning, and some people who are not in the design industry sometimes don't realize the importance of it. So I really like to hear that, you know, your priorities regarding the color in your presentation. So thank you, good job.
And to build off of that, like they might not know that each color will represent any given thing, but they can feel that. And you putting that forward will, I don't know, it tools the company to invoke certain emotions.
Yeah, I didn't have the time to put like my whole style guide in there, but on the color page, it like kind of gives a brief description of the purpose, because that's like a style guide for like internal people. So it gives like a brief description of like why we use the colors. So like, it was fun to use a little bit of like color psychology.
So Nick put in the chat, great details and insight into your design intent, Christina.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments or feedback for Christina? Great, so it doesn't look like Cullen is here, but I'll go ahead and screen.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here.
Yeah, I don't know why my face, I mean my name thing isn't showing. I have no idea why that's a thing. Wait, let me start the video.
It says Jasmine from ours.
Oh, it says Jasmine. Like I got a green box around Jasmine.
Oh no, Jasmine sent me the link, so that's probably why.
Oh,
because you're registered. Because
okay,
she registered. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, good. Cullen's here. Excellent.
I was wondering why there was two of me. I was like, I'm pretty sure I logged out on my phone.
I was so confused why I wasn't on here. I was like,
okay,
what
well,
is...
mystery solved. Excellent.
There we go.
So we'll go ahead and watch Cullen's video, and then we'll have time for conversation with him since he's here.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss it.
Good.
Guys, it's Kullen Stone here, and I'm here to talk about my capstone project, Nightmare Lacrosse Club. So here's my first ideas. I really loved the PLL, so the Premier Lacrosse Club, and their use of logos and their use of color and everything. I just fell in love with it, and I love lacrosse itself. I've been playing it since a kid, so I thought it was a perfect opportunity to create a team in the PLL, especially when it's a new league. They created it in 2018, so they're always expanding. They keep expanding every, I think, 2 or so years and make a new team. So I can even fit my team right in there. And my main goal was to create a team that was seamless inside this new league. So when working through ideas, I wanted to look at a team that hasn't been made before, a name that you never see before, and also with, obviously I need a few colors that haven't been used yet in the league. It has to fit seamlessly in the league, so you have to use obviously different colors. So I had 3 sets of colors and 3 teams: Phantom, Hive, and Storm. All different types of names, all different types of colors than you would see in the league, and everybody kind of gravitated toward Phantom, this darker feeling, and I kind of fell in love with it. And this ended up evolving to Nightmare Lacrosse Club, where we see down here in the bottom with that purple striking Grim Reaper look and the text. So this ended up evolving to the crest logo. So here we see a little bit more movement. I put a scythe in the top to add a more sharp image. And every single team in the PLL uses a crest type just to match the PLL. Watching a few videos on the designers originally that made the 2018 set of teams, they talked about creating all these teams from the crest. You start with the crest and build out from it. So that's where I built this from. You see a mascot logo. Every team has a mascot logo, a crest logo, and also just a name logo, a type logo. Here's all of them together. They all fit really well, and I could use them in a bunch of different ways. So team introduction and ad work. So every team started off with their crest. As you can see, this is the PLO logo on the bottom, and a different set of colorways. Mine fits in completely different from everyone else, but also fits seamlessly in, and that's the goal. So here we see on the bottom 4, I did not create these. These are PLO made ads, and they have a big mascot and then their little text over here. And so every team has 3 words to describe their team. Over here you see precise, resolute, united, lethal, unyielding, and encompassing. And then also a slogan: above all win, do not trifle with. So I need to create my own. So I thought of ruthless, unforgiving, and relentless, all fitting well into the Nightmare logo, Nightmare feel, and a culture. And then also never fall asleep, because you can never fall asleep on the field with the Nightmare team. You can never fall asleep on them. It's a fast-paced game. You ball watch, you fall asleep on the field, and you're done for it. You're in for a nightmare. So was the look on that. This is a closer up look. And also that smoky feeling in the background of the spookiness and the Scythe logo over here. And here we see another ad work with the spooky feeling and welcome to the PLL, because I wanted to have a welcome kind of ad. Another little ad I created, again with smoke. Here are the stationaries. So every team, you have to create a letterhead. So here's a letterhead, and I wanted to make it all seem in unison and all seem together. So here we see the grays used, the same type of grays, this smoky white that I love using, with the pop of the color, the pop of that purple. So this is over a theme that you start to see these grays and these whites and these blacks against that spark of color with that purple. And that's what I kind of used for. So here's the letter, the business cards, and the envelope. So brand guidelines, I'm going to go over these quickly. You can kind of see the same feeling, the pop of the purple, the sharp lines, the sharp kind of text, the big text that I love using, especially fitting well into the Nightmare Lacrosse Club. I'm going over the colors right here: Scythe Silver, Night Purple, and Ghost White. As you can see, all kind of fitting in the same theme. And when I'm looking at merch and ad work, I really wanted to show my merch in ad work because I want to do this later and do it in my career. It's one of my biggest inspirations. I love doing merch, creating clothes, and also doing ad work and logos. So here is a t-shirt that I made, Never Fall Asleep on the back. Pretty simple. Different hoodie types. Another t-shirt that I made. Another hoodie, and another ad work that you can see the pop of the color with the purple, the grays, the blacks, the different tones of that smoky white that I love using, the ghost white that I call it, and then also that pop of color with the PLL yellow and the purple. So when looking at a presentation, I wanted to get everything on the wall. I wanted to show everything that I've done. I wanted to show also those tones of grays, those tones of blacks with that pop of purple, make you want to look at it, make you want to see everything and look it over, and also puzzle piece it together in a way that was creative and dynamic. So here we see all that, and this is how it came together in the end, right here. Super happy how it came out. Poster board looked amazing. I was able to make a cardboard cutout of the jersey, which was great. And overall, very satisfied. There'll be more questions answered in the Q&A with me. But other than that, if you have questions, you can follow me and DM me at Kullen Stone on Instagram, KULLEN STONE on Instagram, and ask me any questions you want. This presentation will be up in Silver Fir until the 30th of this month. So if you're on campus, go and check it out. Have fun, check out the other people's projects. Everybody did amazing. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed.
Great. Are there questions or comments for Kullen?
A good plug at the end there.
Oh yeah, I had to shout out everybody. And I didn't know if it was going to be posted later, so I just kind of added that in. Also, you can't see me because my computer crashed. I must have had a bunch of tabs open or something. So I'm on my like main computer. I didn't get a camera yet, which that's my next investment. But yeah, that's why you can't really see me. I wish you guys could see this beautiful face.
Well, we're glad you could get back on to at least be here. For
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect.
Other questions or comments for Cullen?
I remember going into the show and I thought that the layout that you had was really strong. I enjoyed just being able to back up and then look at everything and then be able to zoom in, like walk closer and then be able to read all the details that you had. I thought that your gallery layout was really strong.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was the goal. I like I just
Also,
wanted to
the
put
number
everything
of
up there.
physical objects that you were able to interact with, like the
Uh-huh.
letterhead you had printed out on this pedestal, and it like came out at you.
Uh-huh.
Even
Yeah,
though
that was the late nights in D&M. I was just going crazy with a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, that came out really well.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to put everything up there. And also with the PLL, not a lot of people know really what it is. And it's funny because the only time I say lacrosse is in the top left of the thing. And I probably should have made that a little bit more clear. So yeah, I should have done something more, but that's why I had the jersey fully up there. And then also I brought a lacrosse stick to the opening. But yeah, I should have probably presented that better with the lacrosse thing, but it kind of explained it more.
I had a similar problem where people came up to it and were like, "Sports ball? What is this? Is it rugby?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I realized I didn't actually put soccer anywhere.
Yeah, it must have been a common problem with us because I didn't even put it up anywhere. So
it just seems so obvious.
Yeah, exactly. It's so obvious. You just don't think of it. And that was another thing. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna put everything up there. So hopefully they can understand what it is. Because if I just had a couple posters, they'd be like, I don't know what this really is. I mean,
And
but
even
yeah.
if you did it,
Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
The design is rock solid. It doesn't matter what it is.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, totally.
And Ina also put in the chat, I think you designed a very strong logo. Great job.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I the goal was to make it seamless with the league, and I love the league and what they're doing with all their ad work and their logos itself is just like it's so modern because all these other major leagues are kind of older now, and yeah, they modernized their logos, but not all of them are modernized, and they're doing a really good job. So that was like my main goal, make something seamless with them.
Great. Thanks, Cullen.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Next we'll have Mac's presentation. All right, Max. Well, we'll enjoy it, and then we'll have conversation too. So it'll be good.
My name is Jan Alexander Maximilian Stransky, otherwise known as Max, and for my BFA capstone project, I decided to create Pest Snowboards, a brand inspired by the friends and strangers I have shared experiences with throughout my 23 years of being a pest. Pest is a reflection of what it has felt like to be considered a pest all my life, as I am not necessarily the best at explaining my work with words. Here's a little bit of the people, places, and experiences that helped to inspire this project. Did you step up? So many others have led me to the creation of this project. When given the opportunity to create my own company, the choice was almost too easy, especially as I actually have been working with an alum for the past 2 years to create a real brand, a snowboarding publication and website called Terrarium Magazine. The only reason I bring it up is because it was a huge part of my inspiration. I wanted to create something that felt adjacent to the real world work I was already doing. Pest became a place for me to really let my creative vision out, a collection of graphics and images that I felt truly reflected the life I experienced as a pest along with my friends.
There questions and comments for Max?
I love the presentation. It was awesome.
And that felt more like an advertisement for a real company. And that was so cool. Like, you completely understood the assignment.
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, I don't understand it." That was perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone can see the chat, but Max is saying thank you in the chat. Oh, is your mic not working? You're unmuted. It doesn't show you it's muted, but well, you can type your answers and I'll read them out if there are other questions. Is the phone muted? Yes. Do you want me to? Let's see if I can. Oh, there you go.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you, Noah and Cullen.
Other comments or questions for Max?
Oh, one of my biggest questions is, have you looked up a process where you can wrap your own designs on a board? Like maybe get a debranded board, or maybe an old one, and wrap it, or do some sort of way you could do it, or there's like websites you can do it, or on-site places.
I haven't really looked into that necessarily, just because like the overhead on that is like insanely massive.
Oh yeah.
It's just such an expensive thing. I'm like
yeah,
pretty
definitely.
happy to just like take the other aspects of the
For sure. Yeah. No, it definitely is expensive. Maybe you could do a huge like a vinyl sticker of the world pest logo and put it on like the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would look nice.
No, that'd be sweet. I'm definitely gonna have stickers at the show for people.
Oh, awesome.
So.
Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna have to grab a couple.
Oh,
Slap it on
yeah.
my skis.
Oh, let's go.
Other questions or comments for Max? All right, go ahead with Mallory next.
For my project, I created a business in the Pines. It's a small business that sells handmade typography art, which is art that is created by burning your canvas with a heated tool. The products are usually made using wood slices from pine trees, and the designs are mostly celestial, hence the name Moonlit Pines. These are the first drafts of my logo. I wanted the logo to make the viewer imagine that the business's products are very witchy and handmade and things like that. And I think I achieved that look, but I still thought they were a little too busy. So I made them more simple. And the logo on the left is used for stuff like signs, stickers, and pins. And the logo on the right is used for the bottom of my posters, merch, and things like that. And these are the type of products that we sell. And I arranged them exactly like this in my display case. It's a little hard to see the pieces, but I wanted to include my signs that I made with the laser cutter in the makerspace because I really like the way that they came out. And this is what I wanted my packaging to look like. These are my business cards and my stickers and pins. And I ended up making the packaging with some stamps and some black ink. And I displayed my stickers and pins in a ceramic cauldron that I made in my pottery class to really give everything the handmade feel. And this was my first merch idea, which I liked, but I didn't want to keep slapping the logo on everything. I wanted it to have some like different designs. And so I made these, and I went with the Ouija design on the bottom right. And then I screen printed these myself, made a tote and a Stonewash gray t-shirt. I'm really excited to wear the shirt. These were my posters. I didn't end up using these, but these were the ones that I ended up putting across from my display case. And then this was my letterhead and envelope. And here's my design guide. And I didn't end up putting those in my display just because I really wanted it to look like a little art shop and just keep that aesthetic. And then I included a walkthrough video of my display just because it was kind of hard to take pictures of it all together. And everything came out like exactly how I pictured it, so I'm really happy about that. And I had a lot of fun doing this project.
Thanks, Mallory. Are there questions or comments? Mallory?
Oh, my friends really they mentioned that they love the Ouija board design. They like gravitated towards that.
Thank
And the
you.
tote
Oh
the
my
tote
gosh.
bags and stuff.
I love hearing that. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Lots of great uses of materials there, Mallory, from clay to wood. And I don't know what's going on, but it seems like wood burning is having this weird comeback of sorts. I see a lot of it. So did you do those by hand or were those done on the laser cutter?
Yeah, I did all those by hand except for the signs that were like above and below my display.
Gotcha.
But thank you. Yeah, I made that cauldron in your class.
I know. Multimedia. The other thing I'll say, Mallory, is, and no offense to y'all that have to be in those display cases, but there's just something about those cases and the glass in front of them that I feel like creates a barrier, but it's a really nice layout of how you kind of consistently set your work up there. It just fits in the space really nicely.
Thank you. Yeah, I liked using the display case because it looked like kind of like what you'd see in a store. So I liked using it. I mean, it was kind of like annoying because of the glare, but I still liked putting all my stuff in there.
Yeah.
You did a
Nicely
really
done.
good job with the plants you incorporated into it. It brought like the whole theme together.
Thank you.
Noah, were you starting to say something?
Yeah, I think that whole corner between you and Teresa, and they had like this similar like motif of naturalist, like nice colors, natural design. And
Yeah, you guys had like the same vibe going on.
yeah,
Yeah, I noticed that too. I loved it. I loved being next to Teresa because it like she had like the vine going across hers too, and I felt like they like flowed really nicely together.
Great. Right, we'll go on to Jasmine's presentation.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Variam. I did Boylston Brewery as my capstone project, and I'm here to share more about what this was and my whole design process with it. So as you can see here, this is the main design. And when I go through this PowerPoint, you're going to learn about my first steps, the design process, and everything about the whole capstone project that I like to do. So these were my first ideas for the original design. I wanted it to be based in Boston, Massachusetts, and I wanted it to be based off of sites that you can see in Boston, such as the aquarium, the Paul Revere statue, the Espionage, and the Ugly Ducklings. With doing this, I really felt trapped in the sense of I had to make the designs based off of those statues. So for the aquarium, I felt like I had to make it only about marine life. The ducklings only about ducks, the Paul Revere statue only about Paul Revere and where it is in the North End. And I really wanted to expand that broader and do more of an abstract idea. So that's why I kind of strayed away from this and moved on to what now is my final version of the capstone. So on the left right here, you can see the logo that was in the previous slide. This was my original logo for the brewery. I really did not like how set in stone it kind of was. I wanted something that was, like I said, more abstract, colorful, something that can catch the consumer's eye, which is the second variation right here. You can see this variation on all of the cans, some posters, and I really like the fun play with the bubbly letters and the two-dimensional with the darker color in the back and the lighter color in front. The third variation is another variation that I've used throughout the capstone on my hoodies, some stickers, my design guides, envelope, business card, and this just plays into the swirls that I have in my can designs that you're going to be seeing in a little bit. So character development. This was the main focus on these designs. I wanted there to be a little character in each of the designs. That's kind of like the signature character for that type of beer. I actually drew these by hand by looking at my hand. I talked to a professor and he said a good way to think of kind of monster-like characters is to play around with your hand and make little shapes and look at the shadows of it. And then based off of the shadows and the shapes in your hand, develop that into an abstract creature, which is what I did. And I thought that it was very intriguing. It made me think a lot and really helped me develop these characters more in depth. So these were the first round of characters. You won't be seeing some of them, such as the eye with the wings. That is already a logo for another company. And I didn't realize it at the time until a professor told me, and I really wanted to stray away from using other people's work and obviously do all of my own work. So all of these, the ones that are left are ones that I've created on my own. These are the can labels. And like I said, you can see those characters all right here as the main focus of that. I really liked how these turned out. I love the pop of color, the abstractness, the swirls, how it feels like they're out of space, the stars in the background. There's just a lot of elements and layers that went into all of these individual can designs, and I loved how they turned out. This is the sticker and hoodie design that I've created. I combined all of these characters into one to create this really overall poster-like image that can be seen on the back of the sweatshirts and on stickers. These are the posters that I've made for the design. I wanted to implement the colors and by tying in the colors of the background. So for example, the Pilsner, it has a lot of orange in it. So I used an orange background. And to go take it a step further, I made the swirls in here, strokes and pasted that in the background in Photoshop just to add a lot of dimension. And this was my piece at the exhibition. I loved how it turned out. I wanted to create the characters really big and over the top. So it really pulls you in, not only just in the case down below here, but up top, brings your eye up and makes it seem more elevated. My goal was was to make it kind of like a storefront. And I loved how it turned out. As you can see here, I made my cans in there, the swirl designs, all my stationery. And on the picture on the left here, I really wanted to make it interactive with the audience. I wanted people to feel like they were almost like in the can. So that's why I created this 3D mock-up of a creature that you can stick your head into. And to take it a step further, I copy and pasted the background and printed it out again and pasted it right behind the cutout picture. So when you look through it, it looks like your head is in the background of the outer space version, which is what I loved. But I hope you liked this. And if you guys have any questions, I'm very excited to answer them. Thank you.
Great. Questions and comments for Jasmine?
I want to say that all my friends loved it and loved how you guys had the hoodies on. But the only thing they were disappointed is that they didn't get samples of the beer you made. They were like, they don't have samples? I was like, dude, they can't have like alcohol in here. They're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I had a few samples, and like these group of guys, I don't know if they were with you, Cullen, or someone else,
Uh-huh.
they grabbed like all of them within the
No
first
way.
10 minutes, and I was like, oh, now like I have none left for other people to have.
I know 2 of them grabbed one. I don't know. They might have. I have no idea. I had a few friends in there, so. But yeah, it was fun.
I thought it was really interesting that well, I got to see your beginning process, because the first time I ever saw your work when we had our large critique, you had already decided on doing the outer space. And so I thought it was really cool to see your beginning process of doing like the Boston and the Ducks and the Paul Revere type theme beer, and then how you changed it. And I thought that was really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really stuck on that. I made a few of them and I was like, oh, I like it, but I just want to expand more. I want to add something completely different. But if I do that, then it would just completely like offset the theme of that can. So I was just like, hey, I'll just scratch this and then start fresh. But by the time I started fresh, I want to say it was maybe like October or November. Like it was pretty late in the semester, and I was like stressing out. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this, but I managed.
So Nick's put in the chat, great use of all the potential space you had in silver. Appreciate seeing the start of your ideation process. And I know, I don't know that many people know this, Jasmine, that initially the plan was to have the creatures over your space, but then the day that it came in to install, there was a leak in the roof, and Heidi was like, we can't have these things getting dripped on, like we have to put them somewhere else. So
yeah, I put some of them up, and then the woman came in to look at it, and she was like, you need to move all of these over. And I was like, oh, are you sure? Like, it'll be fine. She was like, no, you don't want them getting ruined. And I was like, no, it's totally okay.
Yeah. And like, it's not like it's just water, like water that has leaked through a roof is just.
And it was fresh. They went to like scrub it off. They were like, oh, if it comes off right away, then you definitely need to move it. And it's a bigger issue, but if it doesn't, then it's fine. And it came off right away.
Yeah. So I just want to appreciate your adaptability in that case, because I know that wasn't how you had sort of envisioned it, but sometimes there's water coming down the walls and you just have to go with it. So well done for continuing to be adaptable. So
thank you.
And Mallory put in the chat, I love how interactive it was and seeing all of your ideas come to life. And then Ina also said, it reminds me of Dr. Seuss books and illustrations. I really like the idea. Great job.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Jasmine? Well, last but not least, we have Noah.
So for this, I wanted it to be a short 5-minute sort of free-form discussion about my project. A professional, simple, and nice-looking soccer team. I had recently taken up watching soccer quite frequently over the summer, as my friends were all quite big soccer fans, and I had been engaging my students by having them go out and do soccer throughout the summer. It was a lot of fun, and I wanted to continue having that fun into the semester. Now, my most favorite part about this project is the typography, which was and has always been one of my most favorite parts about graphic design. Liking goes. I really enjoyed doing it. The fonts that I used were the bold font. It's a free to use font off of dafont.com, and it really rules. And another one that I used was Milka Aged, and that's the weathered font that looks like whoever built it doesn't know how to read. And I use that more for texture than anything else. You're not supposed to be able to read it. It's really just give it a little sparkle. And then for the most legible font, I used Acumen Variable Concept, Italic Ultra Condensed, and Acumen Variable Concept Condensed, regular. And that, I think, really wraps up as far as the sporty nature that I was going for, as well as the rugged texture. And I really focused a lot on type in this one, as I do in all of my graphic design projects. And yeah, that's the strongest part about it. I love arranging type into compositions and how they interact with subjects in real space. I like putting shadows from that type to cast into real space so that it interacts in a meaningful way. And that's cool for me. Another cool thing that I was able to do with this, but I wasn't able to show it in the show, was the time that I spent on producing physical objects in Fusion 360. I modeled a bunch of keychains. One of them's here. I really enjoyed making these. I 3D printed them, and they're really cool. I'm actually very pleased with how durable they are. I've been using one as my keychain for about 3 months now, and it hasn't exploded for whatever reason. It's just PLA, 20% infill. It's really a testament to how viable 3D printing is going into the future as far as rapid prototyping, getting an idea down, drawing it, and getting a result in 2 hours, which for something like this, the turnaround on a 3D printer is pretty awesome. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the hummingbird. The hummingbird as an idea, as a mascot. I toyed around with different trees as a mascot, different mammals, insects. Insects was a big one. I wanted an uncommon animal, or not even an animal, as my mascot. but I didn't settle. I went for the Hummingbird because they're mean and awesome, territorial, fast, and gorgeous. And so they really represented what I saw as favorable traits for a soccer team. They go into torpor, which is what bears go into every single winter. Only hummingbirds do it every night. That's pretty neat. It's really interesting seeing my posters as really big on a wall instead of on my 13-inch Mac Pro. That's just insane, seeing it big on a wall. That's huge. And I think it's a great way of finishing off a senior year. And being able to put something like this out was really interesting and big. And I think I'm done here. I'll take questions.
Thanks, Noah.
I love your use of the typography, Noah. I know you said in one of the classes you were kind of inspired by Paula Scher, and it 100% gives that vibe with it working around the subject and the pop and the different textures and the drop shadow. It looks really good.
Oh,
No, you're on me.
Exactly what I was going for. With Paula Scher, I studied a whole bunch of her pieces and the stomps, especially. Her work is incredible.
You definitely got that vibe. So.
Oh, for sure. It came out awesome. I really love the touch of the sound, the ambience that you had. That was super cool. Like my friends came up and they're like, "What the heck is that?" And I was like, "Yeah, he like has the sound of like a stadium," which was like insanely cool. But then it was also like super professional and laid out in a really nice way that I loved. And all of them really worked well together, all the ad work.
Thank you.
And it was cool because we're both doing sports teams, and to see like our design layouts, because mine's like Nightmare, so it's all like different, kind of different layout, and then yours is like Hummingbird, like clean, and it fits really well, and it was cool to see.
Sort of on the opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. Mine was supposed to be like sharp and bold and hitting you, and then yours is like clean and nice and concise. And
Yeah.
so we really did a good job on that, and it was cool to see.
Yeah. I specifically looked at Paris Saint-Germain.
Oh yeah, I love their stuff. Yeah.
You guys, that
PSGs. Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah. No, they're really good. They were made in 1975, so all of their logo stuff is relatively new. They're one of the more new clubs when you consider that some of the older ones are like 1800s.
Yeah, exactly. I remember you showing me the progression of them, and then you have like a Man U who has been using the same kind of crest logo for forever. So it's like soccer's really cool at that.
Literally coats of arms.
Exactly. Yeah, literally. So yeah, that was awesome.
Sweet. And the next time I got in my car, it started doing the stadium sounds because that was cued on my.
No way. You were like, what is that?
What is happening?
You're like, is it in my mind? Like, am I just hearing this?
Yeah.
That's good. Well, it came out awesome.
Awesome. And I'm glad it didn't seem pretentious that I was injecting the roaring cheers of a crowd into my own exhibition, which
no,
that didn't like really come into mind until like 45 minutes into the exhibition, thinking like, wow, I'm injecting clapping into my thing.
You couldn't really hear it until you got up there. It was like a little studio up there.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
I liked I liked that experience of rising up into my exhibit. I captured that on 120 frames per second on my phone, and then put it down to 30 so that it gave it like this.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. No, yeah, the videos that you got were cool. Really cool.
That was fun.
And
Great.
Noah, you win the award for I would say nerdiest font input. You win the award for font nerdism. Well done, sir.
I think that occupied nearly a third of that video, is just talking about the 3 fonts that I chose.
You know you're a graphic designer when.
And I tried teaching that over the summer, and it took me about 10 minutes to figure out that nobody that I was talking to actually cared that much. Because I'm teaching middle schoolers about graphic design, and they want to go out and take pictures. They don't want to learn about the nuances of Garrelman.
Of font. No. Good realization, Noah.
Yes.
Know your audience. It's key.
You figure out how to read a room that way.
Well, great. Well, thank you all, and congratulations to everyone. Job well done. And remember that Friday the 29th, we'll have a closing reception up here at the Museum of the White Mountains. So I hope to see you all there, and bring your families. You'll have made it nearly to the end of your senior year. You'll just have one last finals week and then commencement. So we'll all get together on the 29th to continue to celebrate all of your great work this year and over the course of your time at PSU. So congratulations. There's lots of congratulations in the chat as well. So well done, and we'll see you all here on the 29th.